Hey everyone, welcome to SF Garnish Music Production and edu.garnish music production. My name is Justin Anchetta. We're doing our West Coast Wednesdays. We go live Wednesdays from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on all of our social media. We are an online and in-studio boutique electronic music production school. We have 8 locations worldwide. So if you like what you see here, please like, subscribe, follow us, and you're welcome to take some of our classes. We have short 36-hour classes and workshops. And then we also have longer producer program, 120 hours, and our academy is 360 plus hours. So please contact us. There's a bunch of links. I'm actually going to show you guys right now. Let's get into this right now. So this is my Ableton session we're about to get into, but before that, let's just get into a little bit of the website. So this is one of the websites, the sf.garnish music production location. And as you can see, it shows all of our different options in the drop-down when you go to this, all the production courses in the center here. Online options, and then our different DAWs, mixing and mastering, sound design, and so forth. In these larger programs, the Songwriting, Electronic Music Production Academy, you get into theory, you get into songwriting, you get into the upper grades 6 through 8 of our Ableton curriculum. And yeah, there's just a lot more beat production, etc. So yeah, please contact us if you're interested. And today we're in this session in Ableton Live 10. Actually, we're in 11 now because it just came out. And I'll tell you a few new features highlighted today in the 11. Pretty cool. If you want to know how these tracks were created up to this point, because I am starting with a template that already has things, this was all created live on the West Coast Wednesdays show. So check out our YouTube page and you can see our playlist for West Coast Wednesdays and you can get involved. So just want to say once again, thank you to Dave Garnish and our Garnish Network for streaming us out everywhere, and get involved with West Coast Wednesdays. That's right. We are going to be doing songwriting, and in songwriting, we're going to go through all the different possibilities of changing melodic structure, tonality, chords, rhythm, and just having variation in your song, right? Even a transition. Excuse me, my voice is a little bit raspy today. I woke up this way. I'm not really sure why, but I'm glad you guys can just still hear me. Let me know if you can't hear me. I'm going to be checking out our stream, and I'll take any questions or comments as they come along. Cool. All right, here we go. So I'm going to play you just a little bit of these different ideas that we have, and they're not even named over here yet in our master channel. So eventually I'm going to name these as what I think they might be in our song. And we need some variation. Okay, verses, verse, chorus, intro, outro, transitions, bridge. And how we create these variations is, there's a lot of different ways, but melody could do that. The chords can change from minor to major, right? The relative minor of what you're doing maybe. You can get more of a double time or cut time speed in your rhythm, etc. But not only are we going through the differences of parts of a song to create the song structure, but how can you create ideas within Ableton? All right. So if you're stuck, we're going to find some ways that we can kind of get unstuck with our creativity in songwriting. So starting off, I'll just play you what we've done so far. All right. So when it gets to this area here, this is actually a whole new idea. So I'm just going to color code this as something new. You can just right click and create any color you want. What we're going to be dealing with is how do we create some variation in this top area? Because all of this green is one kind of hip hop feel idea that we've been creating through the West Coast Wednesdays, and we need some variation. All right. I noticed that in tonality, we are staying mostly on the tonic in the key that we're in. There's a couple different ways to find out which key you're in. And this is really important for being able to change your chord and make sense of it. This is where theory really comes in. So if you don't have any piano background, I really suggest, just doing a little bit of theory. You don't need to learn how to play the piano, but just being able to pick out your triads and your scales and knowing which sharps and flats are in which scale. So what I often do to make sure I know which key I'm in is I go to a melody instrument such as this suitcase keyboard sound, and you can you can kind of see what these notes are made out of, right? You can highlight any note, okay, and it says A4, F, and D, okay, so no sharps or flats. Okay, then it varies to C, E, and G. All right, so what I'm guessing is that this has to be a key that doesn't have sharps or flats of those specific keys. All right, and often, a kind of a teller is that maybe where you start might be your tonal chord, but that obviously might be a inversion chord too, which means that your main tonic is going to be up above on one of these right here. I'll make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. I'm going to also fold it by pressing this button right here, and it just kind of allows that to be a little more visible. It only shows the notes that we've played. All right, so this is also another way is that if you just fold it, you can see almost the scale come in to this location right here. We're missing a B, for example. And I do believe, since I did this song, this is reminding me that we are in the key of D, right? That's our tonic right there. D minor, because here's our F. That would be a F sharp if it was a D major, right? A major triad on the piano. So if it's a D minor, I know that there's a B flat. So on the push 2 that I'm using, you don't really need to know too much of this theory. You can just literally say, okay, I'm in the key of D minor, and it will put that out there on the push. But if you have a keyboard as your MIDI device, it's really nice to know which sharps and flats you're using so that you can have your chord changes move to things that are purposely creating a harmony, or you can purposely create a dissonance. Sometimes accidents are also a way to create a song, and I'll get into that a little bit too. But like I said, having that intentionality is helpful. All right, so once again, we're in the key of D minor. What's really important about that is now that we know that we're in the key of D minor, we can then figure out which relative chords may work to go to, such as the 5 of that. All right. So I'm also going to be checking out our Slack channel. If you guys want to be involved with us, here, I'm going to go over here. It's going to pop up on a different screen, hopefully. But this is going to allow us to be in touch with you. We have a Slack channel for all of our learners. So once you sign up, you can sign up for our Slack channel. And even before that, you can join us for our Beer and Beats. It's Tuesdays, 6 to 9 p.m. And there's a Discord channel that you can join right away. Check us out on Discord. I believe our links should be below. And yeah, looks like everything is still going all right. Just want to make sure this is streaming live. Okay. So here we are, D minor, and we're talking about where we can move our chord to, okay? And like I said, the 5, right? It's 5 notes up in the scale, so you just count up, okay? D, E, F, G, A, right? And that A is listed right here because that's my triad. Okay, so we could potentially move to the 5 chord. Another key that could be good is the 4, right, which would be on the G. So 1, 4, 5, that whole blues and rock feel. It's not going to sound like that because this song is definitely not that, but the chords and where you go can definitely help out. So let's go ahead and just listen to this a little bit. So if I want to move to a different part, I want to make sure that my different instruments can also move there. Now this is a live stand-up bass that I played. And how do you move this? I could play the stand-up bass again in the new key, but you can also pitch shift. Okay, so let's go ahead and just duplicate this, Command D. And this might just be something that I might do just to try it out, but then for the final, just so we have the highest quality recording, I would probably really record it on that 5 myself. But this is just to kind of try it out and also keep that song flow going. Like, is this what we want to do? All right, so here we go. I'm going to transpose the new one. I'm also going to rename this. And part of renaming this is just to keep track of, the colors, the renaming. It's going to help organize what we're doing here. So this hip hop feel is, I'll rename this to 5 chord. It looks like we have a guitar to change. We have a lot of things. And as a matter of fact, I'll just highlight everything that has tone that I played. And right down here, we're going to move this up to the 5. Now, when you go up, these are, when you transpose, this is a chromatic transpose. So 5 notes in a scale, this is part of theory, there's the black keys on the piano that you need to know about. So the black keys on the piano actually bring that up to 7 notes up chromatically. So bringing that up, I'm just clicking on it and then pressing the up function on my keyboard. And let's just see what that sounds like. I'm going to close down my side area here and just expand out. My suitcase now, this is a MIDI device. So MIDI means that it has to be moved up manually by going Command A and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that didn't move because I'm folded. Let's try that again. Command A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now we're moved up. Let's see how that sounds. Now, also remember that going from a 1 to 5 often works out like this. If you do like a 2, a 3, right, chord instead, it might not work out because the whole chord pattern may change, right? And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So that worked out really good. And, and I picked something like the 5, like I said, because I know it's easy to have a full chord sound good going from 1 to 5. Okay. When you get to maybe a 2 or a 3 chord, for example, you have to change that minor sound to a major. So that's changing your triad chord, right? And what it looks like. So just a little bit of theory around that. A triad chord, the 1, 3, 5 that we were looking at, it's so cool that you can actually learn theory looking at MIDI like this. Okay, let me try and expand this out for you guys. And I do want this to be, let me see if I can do this. No, that's not working. All right. There we go. All right, so you can kind of see a little bit more of that. What I want you guys to see right here is the difference in this note to this note, right? You can see that it is a minor triad on the bottom from our note here, which is the A, to our next note, which is the C. That's our minor triad. And then after that, we bump up to an E, okay? And the reason why that's a major triad is there's 2 black keys, okay? And this is another cool thing about how our MIDI is looking here, is these darker lines are actually showing you the black keys, okay? These dark and light lines are not just here, you know, in some random way. You have the 3 dark keys, then the 2 dark keys, the 3 dark keys, the 2 dark keys, just like a piano has. Okay, so all this theory that I'm talking about on a piano, it relates to how it's laid out here on the MIDI device. So a minor triad has the shorter area below and the larger major triad on top. Okay, if you have 2 minor triads, then that's that diminished chord. Okay, diminished chords can definitely change the tone of it. All right, so I'm going to press the minus key to get that back down again, and I'm just bringing this down by, you can always change how large certain things are just by moving this around right here. Like I said, you can even do it for like your master, bring it in and out. There's a new feature in 11 is you can see the BPM set over here and the time signature. We're in 4/4. But you can always just bring that back just to see less of it. All right, so we just did a tonal change 1 to 5, and you can do a lot of things like that pretty quick in session view, which is what we're using in Ableton Live today. Now, another way we can just kind of create, you know, a different song structure is changing the beat. Right now our beat is kind of chugging along. Has that kind of reggae hip hop feel. And I want to find out if there's other beats that can work. And maybe, you know, what comes out of my hands on the push is always kind of maybe a same feel or something that I'm personally, you know, been trained in. So some way to get out of that to change to a completely new feel is to come over here to your upper left-hand corner triangle, expand that out, and you can now see clips down here. Okay, you can scroll down past your favorites into clips, and anything that you end up liking here, you're welcome to create in your favorites by right-clicking it and then bring it in to a certain category. Now, in these clips, notice the BPM, okay? Our song right now is at 85 BPM. Now, 85 BPM is pretty slow of a tempo. I mean, you know, most songs are between, I would say, 60 to 145, I would say, or 70 to 145. So 85 is on the lower spectrum. If you do something at like 128 BPM, at faster tempo, and bring it in, you're gonna notice it slowed down might not sound good. It also might sound good. Maybe it's an accident and you like it. But these are ways that you can kind of bring in these MIDI grooves into different instruments and create new structures out of it. So let's just kind of try a few of these out. .105 is pretty close to 85, but it's still pretty high. I'm gonna go down to 94 here. All right. So these might just be smaller clips, and you can also just bring these in into a new thing right over here, and you can hear what it sounds like. I'm gonna solo it. It's at 110 BPM, so this is actually too fast for us, but take something like this, bring in the background, put some reverb on it, on my sends. Maybe that's what we get into and then we go to 5. Now, if you really don't like that exact sound of it, what you can do is you can actually turn that into a MIDI clip, okay? Excuse me. So we're gonna right click, convert to new MIDI track, okay? And what it's doing is gonna create a new MIDI track right next to it. And the drum sounds, it's generic right now, but it lays it out for you so you can then bring that in. I'm gonna solo this new one over here now and just listen to this alone. Now this is something that you can then start customizing, okay? So let's see if we can draw still. This was something I used to do in 10. I'm gonna try and make a dynamic change. All right, so the draw function has changed. I'm gonna look that one up really soon. But what you can do is change the dynamics of certain parts. So I'm gonna bring that down. Make sure you're on the right MIDI. Now that also isn't the sound that I want, so we can actually go into our drum racks and just change it out. An easy way to change this out is by doing a swap. So I'm clicking on this channel up here, which is the drums, the generic MIDI drums we just created. Down in the left-hand corner, I'm then going to swap instrument mode. Right, and I can then double click and it will go right into that instrument. Now some of these won't actually sound the same because it's not the same MIDI note, so you can actually move these MIDI notes to where you want to be. Another way to do this is you can literally just drag this in right over the track and try it that way. Now, if you don't like the certain sounds of it, you can actually just change out specific areas of your instrument. This is the 505 Classic kit we just brought in. Now, while I play this snare right here, we can either manipulate this snare to what we want, maybe transpose it up, maybe volume, and let's put some effects on this. Drum bus. Now this is something that I want to actually automate a little bit of. Now I pressed record on my push 2. You can also press up here that little red button. That means you're gonna do the automation recording. When you're done, you can just click that and the automation goes away, or click your push again. The push 2 is a phenomenal tool, one of the best MIDI device for Ableton because they created it So let's just say this is the one that we're going for to create that transition on the 5. And I want to not use this first one anymore because that wasn't the sound I wanted. So I'm going to zero that out. We can always keep it there for future reference. But I'm just going to close that down a little bit and listen to everything together. Taking off solo. Hi-hat seems a little rough to me, so I'm going to bring on a groove, changing my groove to something that I preset over here. Swings it a little bit. And committing that. When you commit the groove, it will adjust the MIDI just a little bit to have that feel and the swing I want. So what I did with this groove is something, I created a template here for myself in my groove pool, and it's up here in the left-hand side. These are all your grooves. I just started with the basic 16th note, and then I changed the quantization, timing, random, velocity to what I liked. So these settings right here, if you like them, you're welcome to just copy these settings, right? 80, 30, 10, 20, right? And it's 16th note. And that's a cool feel. It changed where the hi-hat had feel. Otherwise, it was really kind of in your face. And we wanted that kind of natural feel of like strong notes and soft notes. And that changed the velocities, which you see right down here. Right? These are all the velocities. All right, so let's just do an A-B of our two parts here. And let's put our riser in as a transition. So I'll copy this down. Copy. Start that with the riser. And we're watching this riser because we want to know where it comes in. It's like it's 4 measures. 2, 3, 4. The hi-hat's still too loud for me, so I'm going to go in here to the hi-hat, click on it, and our volume is right there. I also think some transients in the overall beat might be good, and also some reverb on that hi-hat. Only the hi-hat is actually what I want, so I'm going to go into my effects, just a general reverb, and put that into our hi-hat, dragging it right over. Cut out the lows, keep the highs. Inflection up, diffusion up. So this riser I only want in certain times. I don't want it all the time. So what I was thinking is actually, instead of having it here, I'm just going to move it to its own channel and create it as a quick riser. Okay, so this is a function that I can just cue when I want to. And it's just going to be a 4-beat riser, just like that. So I shorten it up. So when I play this area, I can then click on this right here. There's a lot to do with your mouse. This is something that on the push it'd be a lot easier. So let me actually go into that mode. All right, I'm on the push right now. All right, so what I was able to do there is just have that riser come in with, when I want it to, for any transition. There's a few areas right here where I purposely have it in. And we should start naming these now to have different names and parts, right? To start a song, right? What instrument, what sound is starting the song? It might just be something as simple as the drums. So let's just go ahead and try that. So I'm duplicating this track. I'm going to, we're duplicating that scene and taking everything out except the drums. And bringing in our other drums up here. Too busy. But there might be something now we could actually play on this drum right here. Let's find out. I'm going to get over to my push. Other sounds that we like. Go ahead and bring that down there. Actually, let's duplicate this whole part out. There's a feature on push just to duplicate that out. Instruments. Nice. All right, so we have a little bit of an intro of our beat. Cool. So obviously transitions is going to be a big part of this, okay? How do we transition from part to part? I really like the simplicity of this part, and we can literally just duplicate the conga down across that now. So now we have a conga part, and I can even change that color so I know that these are conga. You can also rename it so you know this is conga. And I can then duplicate it with that name, Command D, the beginning one, Command C, Command V to paste, Command C copy, and then this is conga plus hi-hat. Conga, hi-hat, different color. So we kind of know there's some different feels. So we're just creating some variation now. So when we go through these different parts, we might want to change and bring in that open hi-hat to create some variation. Now, if you're a DJ or even if you're a live musician and you want to learn some DJ tricks, right? I have a master chain on my effect. I have effects on my master chain. I said that backward. And you can look at them right here. I have this Will Marshall that I customized a little bit, and it has some fade to gray beat master on it. I often don't put this on my master chain, but just for simplicity, for demonstration, today I'm doing that. Otherwise, I would probably put it on like an effects all and put it over here, which I actually have it over here too. I have some automations already on that, so I have that off right now. For demonstration purposes, let's check this out. Right, so that actually might be the transition, right? Is just literally having that spin out at a certain point. Now, if you want these to be automated on a certain channel, you actually have to put that effect onto that channel or resample it to a separate location. Okay. What I can do is if I do like it just for a certain part of this, like such as I liked it on the conga to kind of like put that beat masher on, it almost sounds like a little solo that we could do. I'm going to copy this, Command C, right into my 505 Classic and paste that audio effect. It's at the very end of my change, so my drum bus and then my DJ effects are right after that. And I also want to make sure that this right here is the length that I want, because right now it's pretty short. I'm going to duplicate this, Command D. Okay, every time it doubles it. And let's make this pretty long. Okay, this is 8 measures of that. And what I want to do is have it build up with this effect that we just copied from our master channel. And I want to use the beat masher. Show automation. I'm right clicking it, showing the automation, right? And we're going to get into figuring out when we want this in. So notice how in our effects, the beat masher is right here. You can also get to it from this location too if you want. And we're going to turn it on at the very end, right over here. And we're going to create some variation. So let's just kind of listen to what that sounds like. You can also see what note you're going to, right? The 24th would be like a triplet pattern. Or you come down a little bit more, it goes to the 16th note. Let's try that out. All right, so I think I'm going to make more of this more drastic so we can kind of hear that transition. In the ending, I might do something a little bit less, but right. So I just want to make sure you guys hear that's coming out, that little transition in the conga, right? It's almost like a live conga player makes that transition to the next part. Now, with this, I want to automate it, okay? So that this changes after 8 measures. Okay, so now I'm going to go into a master channel. This is something new in Ableton 11. There's ways around it. You'd have to actually select all your channels, all your scenes in session view and change them together for a follow action. But now in Ableton 11, you can just go to your master channel and create a follow action. Okay, it says, and I highlight the follow action. I say, go to next track. Action time, let's say 8 measures. Okay, so let's find out how that goes. Now notice how when I do that, it's queuing up, and I know it's going to change after 8 measures. Six, 7, 3, 4, and 8, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's actually where I want to bring in the beat at that point, maybe some type of bass. So I'm going to go ahead and copy our bass wobble. And if you want to know how I did this bass wobble, go to West Coast Wednesday's earlier session. I did how do you wobble the bass, changing frequency, and I also did some on the highs, which you will also hear on the guitar, tres, and other instruments. So bringing some bass in here. So let's listen to this transition again. is queuing up the next part. This is really helpful for being able to cue things up and not have to be on your computer. You can be changing instruments, getting in a position to sing, and knowing where that is, right? It's pretty much like creating a score, a digital score. Right, and it breaks down. That's actually one of the things that I kind of liked here, is that our hi-hat open that we put in can break down. It's a little bit loud for me though, so this is all the customizations you can do. Working with a digital audio workstation, it's a pretty incredible tool. And what the upgrades here of 11, having these different features here, could be confusing at first, but it is so crucial to know the difference, okay? If I want to work with highlighting just a specific area, right? These are my notes. I'm in the note mode. If I'm working with effects, then I'm highlighting an area to then bring up or down the effects, right? I'm on Beat Masher right now. And then also this is note expression. I'm not going to get into that too much right now, but I want to bring these notes down a little bit in volume velocity, okay? This is the velocity. So if I hit it quieter, it should be quieter. You can hear that transition. Let's just hear the difference while I'm playing with this. Right, pretty abrasive. And back. All right, so we're starting to create some transitions here. We only have one chordal change, and that's really bothering me right now. So what I might do in between next Wednesday, 11 to 12, I might actually bring in a little bit more chord variation so I can demonstrate where I'd go with it. The reason why I don't want to do that live with you guys is that it takes a lot of trial and error. And this is part of the thing I want to tell you is, don't be afraid to try a new chord out. Don't be afraid to go into something a little bit ugly. And if it's not the right direction, then get out of it. And then you're also teaching yourself which chord changes you like and you don't like. So we're gonna stay on rhythm changes here mostly to create dynamics between our different parts. We're also highlighting, right, different things. So this is our intro beat. I'm gonna highlight and rename, Command R. I'll say intro beat. And then right here, it goes into groove. Up groove. And then we get into maybe like a verse. This is where it breaks down like, I don't even need to say hip hop anymore. I'll just say verse. Okay, so I know that in the songwriting structure, this is where my verse might be that I'm on a melody instrument, right? Bringing out some synth on a keyboard or playing a live instrument or vocally doing something. But I know that I want to put something over that verse, right? Depends on the style of music. Some music just requires some spatial dynamics, right? It might be that the main instrument could just be like a bell or something that comes in and out, just create a little bit of high. So this is where the verse starts. Now this wobble is pretty intense. I might actually change this wobble up to simplify. So notice how my automations are moving quite a bit over here. So if I want to see these, show automation. And it's showing where that all is. I'm going to highlight all of it, Command A. See where that goes. So that's too much. Bring it a little bit lower. Right. LFO mount, show automation. I can also, like I said, bring change it up here, right? And it shows your red. Anything red shows that that's automated already. Highlighting all, Command A. Just bring it a little bit lower, right? So it doesn't stand out quite as much, right? Creating some dynamics in how we're wobbling the low end. So when we come up to the next part of the song, let's change its color because I know that I just worked on that a little bit. This might even be like a verse increase. We have some bass, a little bit of vocals in there too. Now, so there's a lot of different things going on in this song already. Looks like I have the organization of this. I put everything in that guitar channel because I just started doing a bunch of samples over here. It's really nice to name them. If you're just creative in your creative flow, you might not have time to name it right away, but it's nice to go back in and really name it so that you can start producing it, right? So this is bell and voice sample, rename, bell and voice sample. Now this bell and voice sample, it feels really dry, and it is. So we're gonna create a little bit more dynamics by bringing in some specific effects into this channel. So I have one that I created a custom rack. And actually call it in my favorites, Racks Custom. And so this was for a shaker, but I'm gonna bring this right over here. Now what it is I have a couple different things going on here. Now you can see here that I have, there's a new feature in Ableton 11 where you can actually create different kind of visual areas of like parts that you like, so that you can actually create variation and variety just within one scene, right? So I have my frequency changing just a little bit there. And that variation is also going to show me how much I want to take out, right? In this auto filter, I'm cutting out the highs. So this is going to kind of bring my voice a little, crunch it up, kind of make it sound like I sang through like an old microphone. It's still highlighted. Let's listen to that.
I have chances to go this way. Oh, I have chances to go this way.
All right. So a little bit of, it's mostly I'm cutting out the highs, everything above almost like 3K. And then I'm highlighting just above. Right here you can see I'm on EQ 3, right? And it shows that I'm at 639 and I'm bringing that up by 4.5 dB, right? This is the gain structure right here. Another thing that's really special and you can put on to any instrument is your amp mods, okay? And one way to find that, you know, you can put it in your favorites here. But let's say I haven't yet, I can just type in amp, okay? If it doesn't come up right away, I can go into all audio effects, right? Drive and color, and there it is under amp. And these are just different presets. What I'll do is I'm just gonna go into the basic of it. I don't need any preset. I'm gonna highlight and drag that over to the ending here. Now remember, this is the effects for all of this channel, right? Bells and voices. If you have anything else in this channel, it will affect that too. So just remember that this is why you want to have separate channels for different sounds and instruments, okay? So here I am on the bells and voice. By the way, I'm finishing this track actually live on West Coast Wednesdays. So if you guys want to check it out eventually, we will send it out to our email list. And if you want to sign up for that, go to sf.garnishmusicproduction.com and join us for our Discord, our 6 to 9 Beer and Beats event via Zoom. A lot of ways to connect with us. So this amp is completely wet right now, so I'm going to hear a lot of it. And let's just see what that sounds like. Look, it's like it comes in as blues. So.
Oh, I have chances to go this way. Oh, I have chances to go this way. Oh, I have chances to go this way. Oh, I have chances to go this way.
I really like actually that throw at the very end. So this is a moment where I can actually automate that throw. Okay, so let's go into our, and actually this is a cool thing too, is that you can literally just click on anything and it will pop up in your effects highlighted. You don't even have to right click it and show automation, right? This is, I think, something new in Ableton 11 that is pretty cool. Now I want to make sure I throw this in the right spot, so I'm going to listen. So see how it changes to this little listen area when I drag over the top, and it will start when I click my mouse.
Go this way.
Okay, and I'm going to bring highlight and bring that up, and I want it to kind of fade that in gently. So I'm just creating some dot automation, and let's listen to that ending again.
To go this way. Oh.
Now this is actually something as a loop. I'm going to actually unloop this. So what it does is I can then just play this track. When I get to it, it'll play it one time and then turn off. Okay, I'm going to also rename that Bells and Voices here in case I do something else on that same channel. Now, something I just saw is linked region. Pretty cool is you can actually change the linked region of where your effects come in and out. New feature of Ableton 11. I'll get into more of Ableton 11 coming up here. It just came out in the past couple weeks, so it's pretty new to a lot of us. A lot of the features of, changing your BPM over here in your master scene, being able to automate your entire scene up here of multiple scenes in the entire row. Definitely helpful. There's been workarounds, using Clifix Pro and stuff in the past, but now it's just more visually pleasing to kind of see, hey, I want to change to 7 for, different time signature, different key, different BPM. It's all shown right here. So let's go ahead and play some of this out. And solo. So having that automation, like I said, this is where I can press play and get into the next instrument. It's nice to have that little beat on the conga change like that, because it leads me in just as if somebody was cueing me to start the next part. Bring that in the background a little bit. actually hearing that I like a lot of these effects possibly on some of these other channels. Now, this is something that you can do yourself, is create your own effects chain. Okay, so notice how we have more in here now. We have our reverb and our amp that we added to that bells and voice. And what I want to do here is just make sure that this is all selected. We have our reverb, we're adding in our amp, and I'm going to go Command G. Now, just like that, we now have a new effects chain. Okay, this does look a little bit confusing because now we have effects rack in an effects rack. Okay, another way to do that, I'm going to go Command Z, right, and undo that, is bring this amp into this effects chain. Okay, and you can even change where it is in the effects chain. So it was at the very end, right, just by dragging that over, and now it's inside the effects chain. Now that it's inside the effects chain, we can now save that effects chain, okay, as this is going to be rack 02. Now, rack 02 is not in our favorite location yet. A lot of organizational stuff here that if you do this, you're really going to save a lot of time with your production. So right-clicking on effects rack, the new one I just created, and dropping that into racks custom. So now anytime I want it, it's right there for me. And if you have an old one that you just updated and you're like, that's not useful, just go ahead and take it out, clear all colors, right? So next time I go in, it just has my new effects rack. Now I'm going to bring that into the channel I was just thinking about here, which is the shaker, and it was too bright. So that's why I wanted to bring this in. And also that reverb and that amp could do some things to it. Also going to name this shaker. It's my abbreviation for shaker. It's lowercase because it's not a group. It's just its own channel. And let's make it a different color. Nice way to know what you've worked on, right? If you've changed the color up. So let's go ahead and just listen to just that one channel, and way different. Yeah, that middle EQ squash is kind of what I want right there. All right. Taking off my A reverb so I can really hear what this reverb's doing. A lot of this could be automated as well in regard to balance. Now I could use my utility here that's in my chain to change my panning, but there's also the ability to do auto panning. So let's bring that auto panning in to the end of our chain. This might be an upgrade of our effects rack. I might want to just save this again and change our amount. So we're at 12 o'clock, so I'm going to wrap up here pretty soon. If you guys have any questions, please email sf@garnishmusicproduction.com. Happy to answer questions. And also thank you to Garnish Network and Garnish.tv for inviting us and hosting us weekly in 2021. So that's panning left and right. I'm not sure if you guys can hear too much of it, but I'm seeing that in my left, right here. Right, it's nice to know the visuals happening, even if we're going out, I believe, pretty mono, I think, through our OBS. This is something in Zoom and OBS you guys might want to pay attention to. If you guys are doing any panning work, make sure you have 2 stereo mixes. Make sure that you have a headphone with a stereo send. I have a stereo right now, but it's going through a mono. Let me try and show you guys this really quick. A mono little guy right here. This is my little PM1. And what it does is it doesn't allow me to hear the stereo effects. So I actually have my headphones to put on to mix stereo, right? And that's really when you start getting into that panning, the auto panning, which really creates a lot of spatial dynamics in your mix. So highly recommend that. In the songwriting today, I did get into a lot around the technicalities of moving around Ableton. And the reason why I wanted to focus a lot on that is that I just really wanted to highlight that if you treat your DAW as an instrument, right, and really learn it, learn the technicalities and the flow, that you're going to be able to get through songwriting and your creativity and your inspiration a lot easier. So once again, just start with a bunch of patience for yourself and know that this is a pretty complex digital audio workstation, and it's complex because it goes so deep into the capabilities of music manipulation and creating the exact sounds you want. If you want to learn more about how to do that, please contact us at sf.garnishmusicproduction.com. We're here to support you in any way that we can. So once again, my name's Justin, and I am one of the founders of the SF branch. There's locations worldwide. One of the benefits of being part of our academy is that people learning in San Francisco at our location can actually fly over to New York or Nashville and sit in on classes for free out in those locations. You guys can even redo classes to refresh on subject matter. If there's a certain teacher that you research in a specific location, you might even be able to do a Zoom class with them, which is also another way, so you don't have to actually travel out to that location. But just a lot of resources to join our network and our community. One of the main reasons why we're going live so often during the pandemic and the quarantine is to really create this web of community in the music world that we've had for many years now. And we're just trying to get you guys involved in any way possible and, uplift where you're at. So wherever you're at is awesome, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or even advanced. Please join our Discord and our discussions. We're talking about how to set up your home studio, which microphones to use, even getting into how to live stream and how to create live stream with music and your digital audio workstation, and how to create it to where there's no latency or delay going out through your OBS. So it gets pretty involved. Right now I'm streaming through Restream using OBS, and really appreciate the community that's supporting us out there. Thank you again to Garnish.tv for hosting us, and SF Garnish Music. And I'm going to go ahead and play out just what we did a little bit today, changing some variations, going to that 5-chord. And I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Here we go.